Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, so Brian painted a pretty clear picture of the investment opportunity we have, and that's what this is, right? This is a fundraising evening for Whisper. You've seen how they've grown, and that growth only occurs as we continue to invest. So what I want to do in about 30 minutes, you're going to get a chance to respond, but I want to tell a little principle that helps me keep perspective on how do I decide, how do I make these kinds of investments. How many of you have ever vacationed in Kansas? Okay, not very many. Oh, thank you very much. All right. So Julie and I, 3 boys, I grew up in Kansas on a farm, and we had a tradition where what we would do is get the kids in the car, head back to see grandparents, and we'd get off on the 2-lane roads and see Americana. The boys said, we want to go on interstates. We said, when you have your own kids, you can go on interstates. We're going to drive the 2-lane roads and go into the cafes, those places where they have a grease board and they say you aren't from around here when you go in to get a meal. So we'd be driving on these roads, going across Americana. We could do this west of the Mississippi. East of the Mississippi, you can't go anywhere. But once you get out there, you can start doing this. We'd parallel the interstates. And I began to notice all these little towns, you come up to these towns, and there'd be these great big houses. These are the people that had financial capital. These were the people that had amassed financial wealth. And they were probably pretty impressed with themselves. White fence, around 40 acres, Hereford cattle, big house. He's the doctor, the businessman, the attorney in town. Go on into town. The houses are still nice. They get a little bit smaller. Pretty soon you go out of town, go across the railroad tracks, a bunch of double-wide trailers, you're out of town. You got the visual? Any of you have been there? 40 miles down the road, what happens? Same thing, big house, a lot of financial capital. The guy that's probably pretty impressed with himself. He's the big muckety-muck in town. Smaller houses, railroad tracks, double-wide trailer, and you're out of town. And it dawned on me, men and women, the guy in the one town doesn't know the guy in the next town. And it made me realize what I call the principle of limited sphere. If I make it my goal to just amass more in my retirement plan, more in my business or whatever, I will always and only impact a limited sphere of people. But if I invest in what God's doing, things like Whisper, you will not know this side of heaven the unlimited impact you could have. So the choice we all have is, do I impact a limited sphere of people by just building more and more here? Or do I invest in something like this and impact an unlimited sphere of people? We need to leverage the currency of that which is passing away into the currency of that which is going to last forever. And we have an opportunity in about 30 minutes to do that. Thank you. Table hosts, hand out these cards to everybody. Osama, that was incredible. Investing in a lifeline. That'll preach, right? So we all have an opportunity here. So get out these cards. Everybody should have a card. Nobody leaves. Okay, hold on. We're going to go through this. Everybody should have a card that looks like this. So we're going to wait till you get one. But I thought that was a great line. And I want to come back to this idea of investing or being a shareholder in something. And my earlier comments hopefully got you thinking about the fact that we all have a choice. We can keep building stuff and amassing financial wealth, or we can invest in stuff that's going to last forever. We need to treat things according to their true value. We need to quit treating things that are going to pass away as if they're going to last forever, and treat things that are going to last forever as if they are eternal, and that's people. And so I think it's a perspective that we have to gain and work on. Okay, how we doing? Everybody got a card? All right, so this is our opportunity to make an investment. Let me give you a couple comments about this. On the one side, you can see where you can check something. But let me go to the back side. Shareholders' annual amount. You may have come here tonight thinking, I'm going to do X amount. Let me encourage you to have the courage to maybe move up a level. You were thinking one thing, move up a level. Or maybe you were thinking, I'm going to do this amount. Maybe you ought to double it or add a 0 to it. Let me just say something. We live in a great country. We have a matching program. You all familiar with the matching program in this country? Some of you are like, what the heck? No, because we get to write off our charitable contributions. Whisper is a 501c3. So your contributions, most of you in this room, I know a lot of you, you're going to get back 20, 25, 30 cents of every dollar you give. So right there, you could go up 30% and be at the same level you thought coming in. So as you look at that, think about where do I want to be on here? Because if there's 150 families in here, Brian mentioned $500,000. That should not be a problem for this group if we all do our part. So I want each of you just to sit there for a few minutes, wrestle with what do you want to invest in a lifeline for students. You've heard some eloquent testimony about what that can look like. You get a chance to respond. Let me say one other thing. We need to think about not just our cash and our salaries and our bonuses when we think about stuff like this, but how many of you have retirement plans? Anybody have retirement plans in here? Used to. Okay, that's an interesting response. But many of you have retirement plans, you have investment accounts, and last year was probably a pretty good year for that, and it went up in value. And so you need to ask yourself, why? Why would God allow your net worth to increase? So take a few minutes, figure out, and go back to the front page there and check one of those boxes. We've got 2 5,000s already committed, so 2 of those 20 are committed. See what you might do to help Whisper have the growth. They went from 3 to 6 to 15, and you heard Brian say they're trying to go to 40.